Hey, what's up, masters? Welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery podcast. Today, we're with Lori Brooks. What is up, Lori Brooks? How are you today?
I am excellent, David. Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. I appreciate you showing up. And man, your hair looks great today. So I'm just, I'm messing with you because of what you said before we started
I
recording, but
know.
it's all good. It does look
That
good
was
though.
great. I
So
love it. I
yeah,
appreciate you making me laugh immediately here.
there you
So
go. That's my goal. That's my job. That's what I do. So my wife seems to think that too, which is a good thing. So,
there you go.
all right. Well, I'm glad you're here with us today, and we're going to talk about two important things today. Well, probably more than two, but the two main ones are going to be flow, state or mode, and then second, time. How to I don't know if I know you have books
Time
called
management.
More Time. I struggle with more time because I think there's only so much, but you can set me straight on that, okay? Because but I think I know where you're going with it, so I'm just happy you're here with us today. So thanks for joining us.
Certainly. Thank you.
Yeah, and so let me give you a quick bio. You're a financial sales operations expert with decades of experience. Lori specializes in using prompt engineering to devise tailored techniques that enhance productivity, streamline procedures, and optimize workflows in financial professions. I leverage my industry knowledge to identify growth opportunities and offer innovative strategies that bolster productivity and facilitate brand development. Okay, I love that. Love that. That's a pretty technical bio. So it's kind of ironic because you don't seem like a super technical person, but I guess you are after reading that. So I'm glad you're here with us. You're also the producer and host of the Small Business. Is it a podcast? It says show with Lori Brooks, Small Business Live.
It started off as a podcast and now is on Roku and Amazon as a television show as well. So, yeah,
Oh, congratulations. That's
thank
amazing.
you.
And you're nervous to be on my little podcast. You have a television show. I love that. And
It's such a difference though, David, being interviewed versus interviewing.
yeah,
There's a huge difference there. So
yeah, it's true. And you're the creator of the More Time Financial Sales Practice Accelerator program. And man, you're making me concentrate to read your bio. This
I'm
is not
sorry.
not one of my strengths, but it's all good. And you can also add Lori Brooks app. Wow, you have an app to your home screen without using data on your device by saving this link, which we'll drop in the chat. But it's pretty easy. It's actually links.loribrooks.net. We'll make sure we drop that in the chat for you as well. So, man,
Awesome.
now I'm nervous after your bio. What's going on today?
You are too funny. I thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you. And again, thanks. So, how did you get? First off, we'll just go right down to the beginning. How did you get started in the space of 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 time and flow? And then how do they correlate? Like, how does time and flow correlate together?
Certainly. So that's an excellent question. So, first of all, it's not that you can create more time. Obviously, there's only so many hours in a day. But of course, it's really more so how it is you use those hours in the day. And the ability to drop in a flow state really kind of opens up the opportunity to accomplish more in those hours than what you would think. So, the More Time program stands for Mindset Transformation, Operations Implementation, realistically mapping it out so you can execute and expand. So what we're doing is we're adjusting the mindset to understand the concept of how to drop in a flow state, what it is that's going to motivate you to drop into a flow state and allow you to do that on demand throughout the course of a day. We look at what the income generating opportunities are in a financial advisor's sales practice, and then really design the operations around that practice to fit both the vision and the mission of the practice, the opportunities that exist, along with what it is that's really going to help somebody drop into flow state to design, what that roadmap looks like, and then putting the tools, tech, and the team behind that in order to actually execute the vision. So That's what the more time program is, and that's how, flow state plays into the concept of the ability to gain more time throughout the day. So there you go.
So we'll use me as an example. 9 a.m. I get back from the gym. I'm jumping on my calls. I got a million things in front of me. I'm like, oh man, I got this I got to deal with. I got this. I got text messages. What? How do I get in a flow state? Like, what do
We're
I do?
starting before then. That's what we're doing.
Okay.
We're starting before that 9 a.m. return from the gym. We're actually starting. So it re- my development of the flow state program, the Prism method, really launched because of my running my own practice. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and there's a million things that we're all doing every single day. We all wear a million hats. Um, but I recognized that there were different tools and techniques that I utilized myself that would allow for me to drop into flow state. And so I took a step back from what it was I was doing that allowed for me to drop into flow state and began building out from there to help others also drop into flow state. Now, at the time, the way this all began, which is what I think you originally asked, I was an associate financial rep. I was licensed in financial services, and I was then diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2009. So I started consulting and coaching financial advisors that I knew in the network that already existed, in essence. But I found that, of course, as a parent, as a wife, as a business owner, a consultant coach, there were so many different things that I was attempting to accomplish throughout the day that I had to find a way to seamlessly do so, not just multitask, but really seamlessly accomplish day to day the different pieces that I needed to. Um, I built out the tools and then went ahead and obtained my NLP certification. So it's neuro linguistic programming certification. At which point I recognized that the tools that I had originally built out and was helping other people with, not in a coaching sense, this wasn't part of my consulting practice originally. It was just something that I was doing on the side with different advisors and people that I knew that I could see it was useful too. When I obtained the NLP cert, that's when I recognized that there were different modalities that I could actually build into the program and actually open this up to a wider audience to really help more people. Instead of just my dropping into flow state to accomplish all that I do, I am able to help other people find that sweet spot to drop into. So, what we would be doing, David, is really taking a step back for you, figuring out what it is you're trying to accomplish throughout the day. We understand, okay, you have a million text messages, a million emails. You've got phone calls you need to make. You've got, probably production pieces that you're working through. What are the priority pieces of those? We start off with the 4D strategy, which stands for delete, delegate, delay, or dominate, where we
Mm.
are removing it out of your schedule if, in fact, it's something that's not a priority for you to be handling and not something that you personally need to be handling. We're delegating it out to tools, tech, or a team member in order to manage that piece, whatever it is that we need to remove. We're delaying it, meaning we're putting it out on a schedule, whatever those pieces are, or we're dominating it, meaning streamlining. So batching and making sure that we're actually blocking out time for those specific pieces that do need to remain in your schedule. So it's not that you're coming home from the gym and figuring out how to drop into flow state. It's the design of the flow state prior to getting to the point where you're attempting to engage in it. So it's really designing that prism method for
Mm.
yourself. So the prism method is engage. We start off with a micro
So
swap over.
I'm just gonna, before we jump into the prism method though, let's
Mhm.
explain, because something I don't think we've done yet is explain like what is flow state to
Mm,
our listeners. So let's describe or help them understand flow state. What does that look like?
excellent. So flow state, and I apologize. Thank you for
No, it's
bringing
my
me back.
fault. I'm the host.
So
So
no,
yeah,
no,
I was
no.
gonna jump there in a second, but I know you're jumping into the prism. So before we go there, I
Certainly.
want to help people get clear on what that is.
Of course. Flow state or flow mode, as some athletes might use, is really a state in which you are able to work in an unobstructed manner. So you're able to seamlessly drop into a mode where you can just focus and really be as productive as possible. And I found that the way to do that is to make sure that A, what you're working on is something that's going to motivate you to do so. B, making sure that everything else is off your plate and structured in a manner that it's not being ignored, that it's being managed and handled, but it's not being managed and handled at the point in which you're attempting to drop into flow state. So,
So simply just not having, it's like it's almost like you're saying focusing on one specific thing, in like other things are just not in front of you right now, not prioritized. It's not, I'm not even sure how to say it right. Like you're just doing one thing. Right?
you're able to seamlessly operate is truly what it boils down to. So it's not necessarily one thing. There may be a couple of different items that you are multitasking on, but it's in a seamless manner so that it's no longer a hiccup or distractions or a matter of your uh, being called away or just being distracted by alternate areas. So it's the way that you're designing your environment, your calendar, your lifestyle. It's a matter of design of all areas. So
So, so is so could it is it almost as simple as just being really focused on what's in front of you and kind of letting other things just you don't you and but the interesting thing is you've mentioned a couple times, you don't know this about me, but there's a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. Are you
mhm,
familiar with that book or not?
I'm not.
Okay, good. So, well, I'm not, I don't know if it's good enough, but it's a great book. It's but in the book, they one of the things they talk about is multitasking, and what he says is
Mhm.
multitasking is a lie. It's not real. It's so. What are your thoughts on that particular
I
comment?
believe that multitasking is real. It
Okay.
very much so depends on what it is you're attempting to multitask. So I'm positive there are plenty of people who listen to your podcast who are biking or who are exercising. That in and of itself is multitasking. They're learning something, they're listening to something, they're hearing as well as their exercise. So that in and of itself is multitasking. So insinuating that it doesn't exist is silly because it does exist and there's millions of people on the globe who are capable of doing so. But it truly again boils down to the design. I
Mm,
would not suggest being on a treadmill while trying to drink a cup of coffee.
yeah.
You got to figure out what it is you're trying to multitask and multitask it in a manner that's going to be seamless.
So okay, so I love that. It's a good example. I meant the treadmill, but you're not necessarily thinking too much when you're working out about, you just kind
Hmm.
of like, for at least for me, I work out a ton, so I
Hmm.
can listen to audio book and I'm just running, like my body's running. I'm not really fo- paying a lot of attention to it. But if you took
Right.
like, if you're on a phone call, but then you're looking at your email at the same time, you can't focus. You're missing one. There's no way
That's
you can
right.
focus on both
That's
at the
right.
same time. And I think that's the point he's trying to make more than anything else. And he just
Agreed.
refers to it as task shifting, is what he
Hmm.
calls it. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I like that name for it. I think task shifting is a great idea in terms of the labeling of it. So what I think he's referencing is truly the focal point of what it is you're doing. So as you mentioned, if you're on the treadmill and you're listening to an audiobook, you're not necessarily really focused on the audiobook. However, if you change that over to an audio track that was teaching you a language, you'd be surprised how quickly you pick it up. So again, it's about the design, the motivation, and what
Hmm.
it is you're trying to accomplish, and really making sure that what it is you're doing throughout the day is geared towards the ultimate goal of what you're trying to accomplish.
All right, yeah, I like it, but I still think it's focus, right? I think at the end
Hmm.
of the day, it
Very
comes
much
down
so.
to focus, and if you use the running, like for me, running, if I go back to my example, when I'm running, I'm just running. I'm not thinking about my body, my muscle, my legs, or any. I mean, unless they're bothering me, I guess. But so I actually can kind of pay attention to the book and
Hmm.
run at the same time. But I don't know that I could do much else. Like if I got a phone call, then all of a sudden I could probably still deal with the phone call, but I'm not going to go
Hmm.
listen to my audiobook anymore, right? Like that's anyway, I don't know. It's probably not even a good example anymore. I'm just going on a tangent now. So
I
uh,
follow you though.
uh,
There are good and bad ways to attempt to multitask. And that's kind of the difference. Prism is allowing you to design not just a way to focus, but really a way to build out your own paradigm throughout the day.
mm.
So, and that's what allows for you to drop into
So
flow mode
talk to
in a
us about the
seamless manner.
prism effect. Let's so explain the prism effect to us, please.
So the prism method is truly a method that, as we were discussing, allows for someone to drop into flow mode. And the way that we get there is by going through first what everybody knows as a SWOT, but it's a micro SWOT version of their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But we map that over with the results from what we call the 4P strategy, which is looking at personal, professional, passion, and plans. So it's a really,
Excuse me.
really focused look at who the person is, what they're trying to accomplish, what they enjoy in life, and what they're trying to design as the perfect style of day for themselves, and actually be capable of doing so on a day to day basis, which allows for them to really fast track getting to the end goal of whatever it is they're trying to accomplish. So, it's there's been many, many, many conversations throughout the years, as you can imagine. And years ago, I had the opportunity to um, interview Sean Stevenson, who is no longer with us, unfortunately.
Oh
But one
wow.
of the things that
I
Sean
know who
had
that
mentioned,
is. Joe
yeah,
Polish. You must know Joe Polish pretty well
there
then
you
too,
go.
right?
There you go. So
Yeah.
I actually had Sean on the episode many, years ago when this was just a podcast and it was actually titled Technology Equals Equality back then.
Mm.
Um, and Sean had shared with me that he kept a list of 13 items that throughout the course of any day, if he was able to accomplish at least four of those pieces, it was an upstanding day for him.
Mm.
And the drive behind that question really came from, looking at all that he went through, all that he did, and to still maintain that level of energy, maintain that level of drive, maintain that level of commitment to helping others and watching their journeys grow was impressive and inspiring to me. And from there, it was no longer about coaching and consulting and, marketing a podcast. It was more about how can I help other people accomplish something similar? How can I help other people design that day that not only makes them beyond excited about what they've accomplished, but accomplish as much as possible? And so truly he was one of the inspirations for the start of the actual tool itself. And then from there, because as I mentioned, I was diagnosed with Crohn's in '09. So having a chronic illness myself, it was something that was of great interest to get a chance to speak with somebody uh, such as Sean, who just kept such a bright light, and to witness that and to figure out how I go about doing the same. And so it was truly, designed with Sean in mind. So
Well, good for you for seeking out Sean and yeah, and what you're doing. You're up to great things. So congratulations.
thank you.
I I think about it's funny because as I'm thinking about our conversation, like when I came into this, my my flow, like when I thought about flow, like when I asked you the question, sometimes we kind of think we know the answer already, but we're asking the question. At least I do. Maybe you don't do that, but I certainly do sometimes. And I do better when I don't think I know the answer, to be honest. I think all of us do, right, in life.
Mhm,
However, I thought it was like flow is like when you are like you shoot, like let's say you shoot a basketball. You don't even have to think about it.
mhm,
Like yesterday I played golf, right?
mhm,
I mean, there was some shots that were like I don't even like, was that really me that just made that shot? But it was when I wasn't trying. It was like I just kept my eyes on the ball, pulled the thing back,
That's right.
swung, and there wasn't much extra there. Does that make
That's
sense?
right.
I kind of think of flow as that, but you're really simplifying it for us. It's just like, okay, hey, focus on what's in front of you.
Mhm.
So am I missing something, or can it really be that simple?
It really is that simple, believe it or not. It really truly is. So it's precisely what you described. It's as an athlete, and I think I had mentioned that in the beginning. I think they call it flow mode. It's really the ability to drop into a state where things just seamlessly are operating because that's the way you designed for it to be operating. And that's what it boils down to. You don't walk onto the golf course and go into flow mode. That's not how that happens. It takes some time to get to a place where you're able to drop into that space where you recognize, okay, this is the way my body needs to move to accomplish this goal. And it's very much so the same in business and in life. It's just not applied in the same manner across the board on a regular basis. And so that's something that I'm truly trying to help people change is to recognize that they can drop into flow mode regardless as to what it is they're doing. It does not have to just be sports. So
Well, I think your point probably doesn't work for a professional golfer because you do actually have to start off in flow. Or you have, yeah,
Well,
maybe
after
not.
years, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know any newbie golfers and that that walk
Yeah,
onto the
it's a good
course
point.
and are dropping into flow mode. They're probably nerve-wracked about, holding their first golf club. So there's a bit of work
Yeah.
that comes along with it, of course, but that's where
And they
the
probably have
design
so
is
much
fostered.
skill, such a high skill level that it can, I guess, compensate a little bit for the lack of flow, right? Which
There you
makes
go.
why some golfers are elite and others are
Hmm.
just really great.
Hmm.
But it's interesting because as I think about, if we could use the golf metaphor. So I hit two ridiculous drives. And so now all of a sudden on the third one, I expected to do it and I topped the ball and it was just like, how do you go from like unbelievable, like you're ready to go play in the PGA tour to what the heck was that? And right. And then how do you get back?
Believe it or not, there's going to be distractions in life, no matter what. Of course, we understand that, and we're going to see it throughout the day. And I think honestly, what happens in moments of that sort, where you drop into flow mode, something may have caught your attention. There was a thought process that may have occurred that not necessarily is something that we're going to pull out right during this conversation per se.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, if you really kind of go back to that moment and think through that moment, you'll recognize where the thought process switched and why it switched and what it was that called your attention to something else. It may have been someone turning on some sort of device on the field that you happen to have heard and didn't really pay much attention to, but it kind of called your focus away from the flow that you were in. So again, designing the ability to drop into flow mode is not just about focus, it's about the true design of the environment and the lifestyle in order to be able to seamlessly do that on a regular basis.
Wow. Yeah, and I mean, you nailed it. It's the thought process,
Mhm.
100%. And because we're thinking, oh God, I got to do that again, and how did I do it last time? And what happened? And all of a sudden it's thinking as opposed to just kind of going with the flow. I don't know. That saying, going with the flow. Is that
That's
real? Is
correct.
that a real
That's
saying?
correct.
Like,
It is a
yeah,
real saying. It is
seems
correct.
like it
And you
would
know what?
be.
You're making me recognize, David. I interview people all the time. I pull these pieces out of people myself all the time. And yet somehow I sat here. You've been interviewing me this entire time, and I haven't described or explained to your audience what Prism stands for. So my apologies to everyone watching.
No, that's
Because it's obviously just the nerves from being on the opposite side of this one. But prism method stands for perceived reality inspires successful minds. So my
so,
apologies.
and that's not your fault. It's my fault. I'm the host. So
No.
It's my full. So perceive. So to say, perceived reality is
Inspires
what?
successful minds.
Okay.
Perceived reality inspires successful minds, is what PRISM method stands
All
for.
right. Explain it. Break it down for us, please.
So, perception. Perception is how we understand and receive information throughout the day. And your perceived reality is something that you can design. And that's what we're working towards doing with the PRISM method, is designing that perceived reality that allow for you to really focus on the end goal and make you streamline throughout the day to actually accomplish that goal. So, perceived reality inspires successful minds, the PRISM method.
Mm. So what? Okay. So let's talk. Let's give people. I want to give everybody two things that they can do. Obviously, we want them to get your book. What's the name? Tell us the name of your book again.
So it's more time. It stands, the more time book encompasses the PRISM method. The PRISM method is part of the more time book. So more time stands for mindset transformation, which is the PRISM method, operations implementation, realistically mapping it out so you can execute and expand. So it's more time. It's And now I'm stuttering over my own words. I apologize,
No,
David.
no, it's good. Like, listen, this is super helpful for me because before I came into this conversation, I kind of thought flow mode was more of like kind of like a hairy fairy, not hairy, but you know what, like almost like you got to be like yoga meditation
Right.
type thing. You know what I mean? Like, and but what you're telling us is it's really just a level of focus, right? And
It is.
getting clear on your thinking and your right? And your
It truly
perception.
is. And that's because I'm not saying that I don't meditate, because I still do. But when I was, designing my morning program and meditating and, having my cup of tea and doing my writing and so forth in the morning, I found that no matter what kind of mindset I was cultivating first thing in the morning, by 9:30, 10 o'clock, once I've returned from whatever exercise, whatever, I'm dealing with traffic. I'm dealing with, the headache of X, Y, and Z, whatever life was throwing at me. Mindset from the morning routine was long gone by 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I needed a way to really seamlessly be able to manage throughout the day versus just having that positive mindset instilled in the morning, which would drive a good portion of the morning, but it wasn't sustainable throughout the day. And that's what I truly needed, was the sustainability in the program. And that's what Prism is about. It's about taking that morning routine and really making it something that's seamlessly integrated throughout your day to allow you to drop into that flow state where you can focus and rapidly move forward towards your goals.
I want you to give our listeners two things that they can do, like ways to get more in the flow with their business. Where listen, you have all salespeople, business owners, entrepreneurs, right? Um, thought leaders. So give them two. What are two things that they can do right away?
So, first and foremost, is going to be something that people can't stand to do. It's stopping and taking a step back. That's the first and most important piece, is really taking a step back and really looking at what it is you're honestly trying to accomplish, and then applying the 4D strategy. That is the first step. Really deleting, delegating, delaying, or dominating whatever it is you're trying to work on. So if you don't need to be doing it, be really strict with yourself and get it off your plate. If you don't need to be doing it today, figure out how to schedule that out for later, whether it be later in the day, later in the week, later in the month. When it's a necessity, that's when it needs to be scheduled. And making sure that you are delegating things out to again, team tools or tech in some way, shape, or form, so that it's not on your plate. And those pieces that you have to master and have to control and have to move forward with in order to reach that goal, those are the pieces that you dominate. That's where you really start to time block and batch process. So
So when you say dominate, that's really you handling it
streamlining, you
yourself,
got
or
it.
is it streamlining?
You,
What's the difference
you
between?
you handling it and streamlining it. So it's really, whatever those pieces are that you personally need to be in control of in order to accomplish the goal. Those are the pieces that you need to find a way to streamline as best you can. And the best way to go about streamlining immediately, for your listeners, is to batch process, or to time block and make sure that during those time blocks they're batch processing those pieces that they're working through. So, and again, David, I say batch process, but that's language that I use because I work with financial advisors.
Yeah.
So we're talking, people who are doing high volumes of paperwork throughout the day. So
So is batch processing similar to like a time block where you're setting a block of time for us to do a specific task?
exactly, exactly.
Got it. Okay. So the challenge sometimes, and I see this a lot in the book, the one thing actually, Gary, you should pick it up. It's a great book. He talks about time blocking as well, which
I
is one
will.
of the fundamentals that he uses for highly effective people. And
Hmm.
what a lot of people do is they set a time block, but they don't necessarily like, oh yeah, my time block's from 9 to 11,
Right.
but yet, they're still texting, doing emails, right? On social media for 5 minutes, right? Running. Like, that's not real time blocking,
Nope.
correct?
No,
What
no,
does real
it's
time
not.
blocking look like for you?
So real time blocking is when you're taking the X amount of hours, and we're going to say it that way, because some people are blocking for 15 minutes at a time. Some people block for 30 minutes at a time. Obviously, as you said, there's some people who block for 2 hours period of time. But what we want to look at is the course of the entire day. Look at the hours that we are blocking out. Those would be 30 minutes, is generally what I personally do. So on a personal level, I block in 30-minute periods. Um, and then during that 30-minute period, it's already a very focused scenario where I know precisely what it is I'm working on. And I've set up the environment to be capable of making sure that I'm streamlining through that environment. So, be it making sure that different devices are off. If in fact I need,
Mm.
focus on a specific area, or making sure that all of the tools and tech that I need are in front of me, lined up, signed in, logged on, ready to go in the areas that they need to be in, but shutting off whatever else does not need to be in that area. So there's a couple of different things. It's again, it's the environment, but also the focus point for yourself as to what it is you're looking to accomplish. So
I would definitely grab the book. The one thing you'll love everything except the time block, not the time blocking, the multitasking part. other,
I
other than
probably
that,
will still love that part, David.
yeah,
It's not that I don't. I do agree with him in the fact that, a lot of people attempt to multitask, but it's not in the greatest way.
yeah.
There are ways to multitask that are effective, and there are also ways that are extremely ineffective to multitask. So, I mean, it exists, though, that I will differ on.
I think
So,
there's a myth too that in there that maybe it isn't a myth. Maybe it's true that women tend to be better. If there was such thing as multitasking, women are better at it
David, we're
uh,
better
than
at
than
most
men.
things.
Yeah,
That's
true.
the
Uh,
answer.
all right, there you go. That's a good point. I
I'm
like
sure your
that.
wife would agree
Yeah,
too.
thank you. Check.
That's what you're going to
So,
tell her later.
see this thing right here? This is 45 minutes. That's my
All
you
right.
just reminded me. It's been probably here for the last year. I haven't looked.
Wow.
So you just kind of reminded me to pull it out.
And there
45
you
minutes,
go.
put it
Part of
time block.
your
That's it.
environment.
Nothing else
Exactly.
until that thing's out.
There
It's
you
a
go.
great little hack. I got it on Amazon
Mm,
for I don't know, $10 or something.
there you go.
Awesome.
See? Very
Well,
simple. Very simple tools, but it's about designing those tools that work for you. So,
yeah. Well, I get a ton of people requesting, just agencies reaching out to me all the time, and I say no to 80% of them, but whatever reason, yours, the flow caught my attention, and I said I want more flow. I need to get better at flow. And so thank you. I'm glad we were able to connect. And I think you brought
certainly.
some really good value and some good nuggets to our people.
Excellent.
How do people get in touch with you? What's the best way?
LoriBrooks.net. Super simple. Super, super simple.
That is pretty simple. Almost
I tried.
yeah.
Cross all channels.
There you go. That's good. Anything that I didn't ask that you think I should have asked, or that else we should have talked about?
No, I think I brought up the actual title of Prism as we were just ignoring that altogether. So again, my apologies to your audience for that, but there you go. Perceived reality inspires successful minds, and hopefully I wasn't super nervous throughout this. So
No,
hopefully
you
your
you
audience
did
got some
great.
value there.
You did great. Final question. I just want to know, like, for people listening that say, "Hey, I want to do this. I like want to get better
Mhm.
at this." What's going to be the biggest challenge for them?
Um, Biggest challenge is going to be really getting clear. And that's what I find is generally the challenge for most people, getting clear as to what that goal truly is and truly looks like. It's not about the roadmap. The roadmap's pretty easy to lay out. It's about getting clear as to what the goal is. So
Mm. And how does somebody do that? What's the best way to get clear?
there's a couple of different ways, but we start off, like I said, with the SWOT, the micro SWOT, and the 4P strategy. I'm really looking at the responses that we cultivate from those and kind of mapping those into the different modalities. So
Cool. Well, I think the place for you guys would be to grab a copy of Lori's book and also reach out to her, Lori Brooks, everywhere. And I'm sure you have ways to help people get clear on that. So we appreciate you being here today. Thank you very much.
thank you for having me. I enjoyed, and I look forward to having you as guest as well, David. So
Oh, love that. Anytime. That'd
excellent,
be amazing. Thank you.
excellent.